In a recent and deeply emotional turn of events, footage capturing Sean Diddy Combs' reaction to the moment he learned of his life sentence has shocked the world. This heart-wrenching scene, showing a man once at the pinnacle of success, now facing a lifetime behind bars, left fans, followers, and industry insiders alike stunned and reflective. The video, which quickly circulated across various social media platforms, paints a picture of a man confronting the most life-altering moment imaginable. The raw emotion and vulnerability displayed by Diddy, a figure who, for decades, seemed larger than life, have opened up a dialogue about the human side of fame, power, and the eventual fall from grace. As the clip spread, many found themselves grappling with the profound questions it raises. How does someone process such an enormous shift in their reality? What does it mean for a figure like Diddy, whose name is synonymous with influence and power, to suddenly face the possibility of spending the rest of his life in a prison cell? And perhaps more importantly, how does this legal turn of events impact his carefully constructed legacy in music, business, and popular culture? The sight of Diddy being overcome with emotion during his court appearance is significant not just for what it reveals about his personal struggles, but for what it symbolizes in the broader context of celebrity, power, and the legal system. Over the course of his career, Diddy has built an empire, ascending to the upper echelons of music, fashion, and entertainment. His journey from a young producer at Uptown Records to a global music icon and mogul seemed unstoppable until now. This moment, in which he is seen coming to terms with the gravity of the charges against him, marks a dramatic and unprecedented shift in his life. One that could forever change the way the world sees him. It is the culmination of a series of legal battles and public controversies that have increasingly overshadowed his professional achievements. With this trial, Diddy's empire appears to be on the verge of collapse, and his reputation hangs in the balance. Yet, as emotional as this moment is, it is only the beginning of what promises to be a long and arduous legal journey, one that will have far-reaching consequences not only for Diddy himself, but also for the entertainment industry and the many people whose lives have been touched by his influence. In recent developments, the legal proceedings against Sean Diddy Combs have reached a pivotal moment, marking a significant turning point in the case. On October 10, 2024, a federal judge in New York announced that Diddy's trial would commence on May 5, 2025. This trial date represents a crucial step in a legal saga that has captivated the public for months, with each new revelation adding to the intensity of the scrutiny surrounding Diddy's actions. Since his arrest, Diddy has remained in custody, unable to secure bail due to the seriousness of the charges and concerns from the court that he could either tamper with witnesses or attempt to flee the country. This marks a stark contrast to the life of luxury and freedom he once enjoyed, as the reality of his current circumstances begins to sink in. The charges that Diddy faces are both extensive and deeply troubling, and they paint a disturbing picture of a man whose public persona may have hidden much darker private behaviour. Among the most serious accusations against him are charges of trafficking, misconduct, and the illegal transportation of women across state lines for purposes related to exploitation. According to the indictment made public in September 2024, Diddy is alleged to have orchestrated a criminal enterprise that systematically abused and exploited women for his personal gratification. The allegations go back years, with the prosecution detailing how Diddy allegedly used his wealth, influence, and network of associates to manipulate, control, and ultimately abuse his victims. The centerpiece of the indictment revolves around events Diddy purportedly organized and referred to as freak-offs, gatherings that involve multiple participants in sexually explicit performances. The prosecution asserts that many of the women involved in these events were coerced or even forced into participating, with some facing threats of violence or other forms of intimidation. Diddy is further accused of creating an environment in which women were not only pressured to engage in these acts, but were also transported across state lines under false pretenses, often unaware of the full extent of what they would be subjected to. These actions, according to the indictment, were facilitated by a network of enablers who helped Diddy recruit, manage, and silence the women involved, ensuring that his criminal enterprise could continue without detection. The scale of the allegations is vast. And the implications are significant, not just for Diddy, but for the many people who were complicit in his actions. The prosecution has made it clear that they believe Diddy was at the centre of a well-organised system of exploitation, one that involved a range of individuals who worked to protect his interests and shield him from the consequences of his behaviour. The charges against him span multiple states and jurisdictions, adding a layer of complexity to the case and increasing the likelihood that Diddy could face a lengthy prison sentence if convicted. Diddy's legal team, however, has mounted a vigorous defence, challenging the prosecution's case at every turn. Over the course of several pre-trial hearings, his lawyers have filed numerous motions aimed at discrediting the government's evidence and undermining the credibility of the witnesses. One of the primary tactics employed by Diddy's defence has been to argue that the media has played an outsized role in shaping public opinion about the case. They have accused the prosecution of leaking sensitive information to the press, which they claim has unfairly prejudiced the public against their client. In particular, Diddy's team has focused on a piece of key evidence that has been widely reported in the media. A surveillance video from 2016 that allegedly shows Diddy in a physical altercation with a woman. This video, which surfaced in May 2024, has been central to the prosecution's case and has already caused significant damage to Diddy's public image. The defence has argued that the release of this video was part of a coordinated effort by the prosecution to sway public opinion before the trial had even begun. They contend that the government has been using the media to paint Diddy as guilty in the court of public opinion, a strategy that they claim undermines his right to a fair trial. In response, Diddy's lawyers have requested an evidentiary hearing to investigate these leaks, arguing that the prosecution's actions have compromised the integrity of the legal process. As the trial date approaches, the stakes continue to rise, and both sides are preparing for what will undoubtedly be a contentious and high-profile legal battle. Prosecutors are expected to present a detailed case that includes testimony from multiple victims and witnesses, as well as documentary evidence that they believe will prove Diddy's guilt beyond a reasonable doubt. On the other hand, Diddy's defence team has indicated that they plan to challenge the credibility of the prosecution's witnesses and the reliability of the evidence presented, arguing that much of it has been taken out of context or manipulated to make their client look guilty. One of the key questions looming over the case is what kind of sentence Diddy could face if convicted on all counts. The charges he is facing carry a minimum sentence of 15 years in federal prison, but the possibility of life imprisonment is very real, given the nature of the crimes and the evidence against him. Federal laws regarding trafficking and exploitation are notoriously strict, and prosecutors will likely push for the maximum sentence if Diddy is found guilty. Legal experts have weighed in on the case, with many suggesting that the strength of the government's evidence makes a conviction more likely than not. The prosecution is expected to present a compelling case, one that includes electronic records, surveillance footage, and testimony from multiple victims, all of which will be difficult for the defence to counter. If convicted, the consequences for Diddy would be devastating. His career, once considered one of the most successful in the history of the music industry, would come to a crashing halt. Over the years, Diddy has built an empire that spans music, fashion, television, and beyond, but a conviction would likely mean the end of his public life and a permanent stain on his legacy. His name, once associated with innovation and success, would forever be linked to exploitation, abuse, and criminal behaviour. The ripple effects of such an outcome would extend far beyond Diddy himself, shaking the entertainment industry to its core and sending a message that even the most powerful figures are not above the law. The trial, set to begin in May 2025, will be a watershed moment not only for Diddy, but for the many people whose lives have been touched by his influence. And the music industry, which has long been plagued by allegations of misconduct and abuse, will be forced to reckon with the implications of this case and the questions it raises about accountability, power, and exploitation. For Diddy, the stakes could not be higher. If he is convicted, he faces the possibility of spending the rest of his life in prison, a fate that would mark the end of an era in the entertainment world. As Diddy's defence team prepares for the legal battle ahead, they remain confident in their ability to prove his innocence. They have repeatedly stated that the government's case is based on flimsy evidence and that Diddy has been unfairly targeted because of his fame and wealth. In public statements, Diddy's lawyers have emphasised that their client is innocent and that he intends to fight the charges with everything he has. They have also pointed out that Diddy voluntarily surrendered to authorities in New York, a move they argue demonstrates his commitment to facing the legal process head-on rather than fleeing from it. One of the most significant challenges facing Diddy's defence team is the sheer weight of the evidence that the prosecution has amassed. This includes electronic records, surveillance footage, and testimony from multiple alleged victims, all of which paint a damning picture of Diddy's involvement in a criminal enterprise that exploited and abused women over the course of many years. However, the defence has indicated that they plan to challenge the credibility of the prosecution's witnesses, arguing that many of them have ulterior motives and have been manipulated into making false accusations against their client. They have also questioned the validity of the evidence, suggesting that much of it has been taken out of context or exaggerated to make Diddy look guilty. Despite these challenges, Diddy's legal team remains resolute in their belief that they can win the case. They have pointed to what they see as inconsistencies in the government's case, and they have accused the prosecution of using the media to sway public opinion before the trial has even begun. In a recent court filing, Diddy's lead attorney, Mark Agnifilo, argued that his client is being unfairly targeted because of his wealth and fame, and that the charges against him are based on flawed evidence and unreliable testimony. As Diddy prepares for his day in court, he is also coming to terms with the reality of life behind bars. Since his arrest, Diddy has been held at the Metropolitan Detention Center, MDC, in Brooklyn, a facility known for its harsh conditions and overcrowded population. The transition from his previous life of luxury and freedom to the stark realities of prison has been difficult, to say the least. The MDC has long been criticised for its inadequate medical care, poor living conditions, and the dangers faced by inmates due to overcrowding and a lack of resources. For someone like Diddy, who is used to controlling his surroundings and living in the lap of luxury, adjusting to the harsh conditions of life in a federal detention centre has undoubtedly been a challenge. One of the most immediate changes Diddy has had to adapt to is the food. Gone are the gourmet meals prepared by personal chefs and the endless array of fine dining options he once enjoyed. In their place are the standard prison meals, simple, often unappetizing, and lacking in variety. Breakfast typically consists of cereal, fruit, and skim milk, while lunch and dinner options range from chili mac to chicken wraps to beef tacos. Inmates at MDC also have the option of purchasing food from the commissary, but even these offerings are a far cry from the lavish meals Diddy once took for granted. Commissary items include instant noodles, candy, and prepackaged snacks, but they do little to alleviate the monotony of the prison diet. In addition to the food, Diddy has also had to adjust to the strict routines and constant surveillance that come with life in prison. Since his arrival at MDC, Diddy has been placed in protective custody due to his high-profile status, which means that he is kept separate from the general population to avoid potential conflicts with other inmates. While this keeps him safe from physical harm, it also means that he is largely isolated, with limited contact with others. This isolation, combined with the harsh living conditions and constant surveillance, has taken a toll on Diddy, both physically and mentally. Despite these challenges, however, Diddy remains focused on preparing his defence and is determined to prove his innocence in court. For now, the world watches as Diddy's legal battle unfolds, with each new development adding another layer of complexity to an already sensational case. The outcome of this trial will have profound implications not only for Diddy, but for the entertainment industry and the legal system as a whole. As the trial date approaches, the questions on everyone's mind are clear. Will Diddy's defence team be able to mount a successful challenge to the prosecution's case? Or will the weight of the evidence prove too much to overcome, resulting in a conviction and a life sentence for one of the music industry's most iconic figures? Whatever the outcome, one thing is certain: the trial of Sean Diddy Combs will be remembered as a watershed moment in the history of entertainment and justice, with repercussions that will be felt for years to come. Stay with us as we continue to follow the developments in this high-profile case and explore the far-reaching consequences of Diddy's fight for freedom and justice. The road ahead is long, and the stakes could not be higher. For Diddy, for his legacy, and for the many lives that will be impacted by the outcome of this trial.